Hopefully some of you will remember the van. So this is going under a partial restoration at the moment, mainly on the front end, which we'll get to, but it's kind of being used as storage. So what have I done? I've removed the engine and I've removed the dash and the wiring loom and practically as much as I could at a time. And this is going to be rewired inside. It's going to have the Verto wiring loom from a later car in. I'm going to do the rear suspension and the trailing arms, etc. from Felix. And once that's done, that'll be hopefully a lot better in the longevity. It is at the moment on a pallet. Oh, there's the camera, which means I can move it around. The idea is the engine bay, which I'm filming this in the future. I'm not going to show you, but I'll show you the progress of it. The engine came out. The front subframe went for powder coating, and I've got a few trick little pieces to show you guys as well in this episode. But it is, as you can imagine, covered in dust, really due a wash and a machine polish. And the back is being used as storage, because that's what a van's for. So I'll get to it, I'll run the intro, and I'll show you guys what I've been doing. So moving on with a bit of progress for the van, we've got the bundle of rat's nest of wiring round. So I've taken loads of photos of this. I've got loads of power leads around the front, and it goes all the way up the back. Got to get rid of the alarm unit and then feed it back through. Then all of this, so the dash has all got to come out, so I can strip this bare and start sanding down. So the plan for this is I'm going to break it up. So I'll do inner wing, then mask, and then do basically the top of that. So once we've done some welding, which I'll get onto, I shall start filling and grinding and hopefully flatten this back. It's not going to be like a flat wall or anything like that. It is purely just going to be to tart it up a bit and hopefully have an oil catch can here to mask up the old plate, and then something a bit more fancy in the middle. So once that's done and I've cleaned the steering rack off, this is all going to be heat-proof coated across the back, but a general tidy up just to make it look neat. This isn't going to be a concourse car, so right, let's get to it. And there we go. That's all the wiring through. So that was a bit of a pain. There's a connector which I didn't find for the rear loom, because the rear loom goes up and over and down the back and towards the rear lights, but it actually connects in the engine bay, which is weird because that loom goes through and then it connects to the engine bay. So in future visions I'm not going to have that through there, so it saves a bit of wiring. And what I've also done whilst it was out, I started to do more sanding. So I've done all that. There was a bit of pad here that I need to remove, so I'll get the scraper on that, but all that area's been done. Probably just needs a bit of a clean up and double check, but also more filler came off here, so I'm going to sand this back and then give it a skim fill down the front there. And this side in general pretty good, no rust, but what I've done is actually pushed cure rust down into the support either side, and I've just done it with this side as well. So as you can see, I've just gone around the back and poured it in. Hopefully that will work a bit better. I'm getting some zinc primer, I'll pour that down there as well. This area is flattened off now, so it's feathered in, but it still needs a bit of work, and what I might do is just give it a very quick, very thin smear of filler just to get rid of some of the sanding marks I've used with the disc. The support here, if you notice when I move it, it's a bit of flex on this side, so I am tempted to take this off, get a new one, and weld it on properly like I did with Felix. This has been a pain in the backside. I've used Scotch pads to try and get around the back of it, but the next bit for me is remove the hinges, both sides, and then start doing some work on the inner panel. So these 4 holes welded up, there's one there that needs welding up, and these 2 down here, this was for the solenoid for the starter, so I don't need them anymore, so those are going to get welded up, and I've smoothed out that area there. You won't see any of this once the turbo's in, so yeah. these clips as well have had to be done. I've also cleaned the steering rack. That was just a major spray with the old brake cleaner. That came out really well. So yeah, still a bit more work to do, that area particularly, and then yeah, a bit of masking up and welding as well. It's getting awfully close. There's another one there that needs welding up. But you've got to be careful of the interior, because the last thing you want to do is try and weld and then set fire to it. So what I plan to do, with my help from the lovely assistant that is my girlfriend, I'm going to get her to put a piece of copper plate behind that one whilst I weld, and then just fill in, and then that'll be ground. And it's the same with things like those two that need doing, and these 4 holes here, 2 there, and I think there's one there as well that need doing. But I think after those, gets the fun part. We get some paint on it and it actually starts to look like an engine bay again. So, a little bit more progress. I've welded up the holes now and covered them with zinc primer. I've given this area as well a blast of zinc and got it all into the edges and in and behind the quarters, as I said I would. I've literally just poured it in until it started falling out the other side. And then here as well, all the holes I've been doing. So the next stage for this is bit of sanding, bit of cleaning, and start the filling. So these areas will be filled. Around here I've got to just, as I said, cover that area. I didn't weld any holes up here. I'm keeping these two because that's where the fuse box goes. There's a few here where one of the pumps went, the wash pump, and one of the relays went, but they're going inside in the car. And then there was one there which there was a pain in the backside to weld up. But I've managed to get it, and then the motor for the wipers goes there, so that's alright. There's nothing to weld up on those, so it was only minimal work really to do, so yeah, let's get to it. So I've done the rear inner wings, and there was a few pinholes, so they've been filled at the moment, but I've covered it with primer so I can see any blemishes, so they need to come out. In the corners next to the A support, there was a lot of filler, so I took about 5mm of filler here to kind of get the profile back and where the actual flange itself is welded to. So the filler there is just to knock out some basically some deep spots. I've done things like filled little pinholes either side, and the same with that as well. It's not perfect, it's not going to be a concours car, it just has to be of reasonable state. So I'm happy with the inners for the passenger side. I've just thrown a very quick layer of primer over, happy with that. This area here has been a pain. Where I welded, I ended up having to chase a hole, so that's all been done and filled, but I've used my finger to try and profile it because it's quite deep there. There's an area here that needed a bit of work as well, and where there was a bit of rust here because of the brake fluid, I've done the same with my finger. I've put some filler in there and I'll flat it back, and the same here as well. I did find a small area of rust underneath, so that's been ground back, it's been treated. I've used some zinc primer, so I've used the Halford stuff, which is alright, but again not a concours car, so that's all been done and filled. So where we go from here now is to begin a lot of the masking up, because the car itself is looking a bit sorry for itself, so I'll get a sheet over there around the front as well, and try and mask off as much as possible. I know I've sprayed some of the wiring loom, like the one on the inner wing, but I'm not too fussed about that. But I'm going to be redoing the lip all the way around, so I've got to grind all this back and then set a bit of masking tape down, so when it comes to be sprayed you can get all of this lip quite nicely. So yeah, progress, more filling, more primering. Right, the next bit, you'll probably notice that the back end is a little higher. So finally, stuck it on a pallet. So next job is to remove the rear arm, give it a clean up, and then I've got a set of CAD adjustable brackets and a new set of arms from Felix. So yeah, this is going to be fun. general look. So this car was restored about 10-15 years ago, so it's had a fair bit of use, and it has got the usual grease and oil. I'll be replacing these hoses for a set braided. The handbrake line seems to be alright. Subframe in general is pretty good. The ProTech shocks, can't even say it. Seems to be alright. And I think, yeah, the high-lows will come out, so I'm happy with that. Cones look good. In general, subframe seems to be in pretty good nick. I might replace these for poly. Always keep rubber at the rear because it stops the drumming effect. But overall, I think it just needs a good clean. And once I've done that, I can stick the new rear arm in. Cool. Right, best get on with that then. That's them all on. So both sides done now. Trailing arm and the CAD adjuster as well. Brake lines with the flexi at the back. High-lows are on. Those have all been cleaned up, lacquered on the alloy parts, and the mini spares Evolution cones as well. Thought I'd give them a go. The drums are on nicely and they're all adjusted. So apart from the actual bleeding of the brakes, which I can't do at the moment, they are all complete. So that side's been done, and I don't know if I'm just pissing in the wind. I probably am, but the other side's been done as well. I got a wheel on, I'll show you that. You can see the poke for the arch. It's exactly where I want it, so if you imagine it's going to be slightly out here. So all this will go, and then we'll decide on arches. I'm thinking the wooden picket arches at the moment, but I have seen Group 2 and Group 5s now, so I'm not 100% sure. I hate trying to make my mind up with arches, but it can always be the last thing. So really, at the moment, what I can do is put the wheel on, take it off the pallet, but I'm going to keep it on the pallet at the moment, just for when my mate comes along and does the spraying of the engine bay. Then I can get it all put together with a subframe in, and then the engine can go in. So fingers crossed for that. So that's where we are with the van at the moment. So once the engine bay's been sprayed, in just under a week I can put the subframe in, and I'll film all that and I'll put it in another episode. For the meantime, guys, thanks very much indeed for watching. Stick around and I'll see you in the next one.